Welcome to A Pair of Bookends, the book club you can carry anywhere. I'm your host, Hannah MacDonald, and I'll be bookending the conversation with some of the most exciting voices from the bookish world. On today's episode, I am thrilled to be diving back into the world of romance and romantasy with author Iman Hariri-Kia. Her latest novel, Female Fantasy, is just the tonic to pull us out of our seasonal depression. It's fun, it's sexy, it's empowering and heartwarming, and I absolutely gobbled it up. Previous guest of the pod, the iconic BK Borison, calls female fantasy decadent and dreamy. This one is for the romantics, and she's not wrong. Author of Female Fantasy, Iman Hariri-Kia, is a writer and award-winning journalist born and raised in New York City. Iman writes about sex, relationships, identity and adolescence, and her work has appeared in Vogue, New York Magazine's The Cut, Harper's Bazaar and Cosmopolitan, to name a few. Iman is also a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree and is the best-selling author of two previous novels, 100 Other Girls and The Most Famous Girl in the World. Here to chat all about her new novel, Female Fantasy. Welcome, Iman, to A Pair of Bookends.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat. I always blush when I hear that quote from Bex because dreamy and decadent, it sounds like she's describing the most delicious slice of cake you've ever had.
Honestly.
You know? And who doesn't want the bookish equivalent of a slice of like chocolate cake?
Exactly. I feel like this book is exactly that. I like I said, I gobbled it up. I loved it, and I am not. I kind of steer towards literary fiction and contemporary fiction. Like that's very much my bag. But thanks to the podcast, I get to broaden my horizons and try out loads of different genres. And I have really been dipping into romance and romantasy in the last year, and I've been having so much fun with it, and just absolutely loving it. And I have so many questions for you, but before we get into your book, I do like to start by asking what you're currently reading.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. Like I know a lot of authors like to play it cool. I've never played it cool in my life. So
We love this.
I really appreciate the kind words. I love this book so much. It never gets old getting to talk about it with other people. So I really appreciate it, truly. And yeah, it's funny because I'm a huge romance reader. I talk about that in my author's note.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a big reader, period. I read a ton of literary fiction. And this is going to make me sound like the corniest, cheesiest salesman of all time. But I actually like to tell people that even though this is obviously a novel for the romantics, as Beck said, I do think that if you are not formally a romance reader, you will get a lot from this book because what it does is, because the meta narrative,
Yes.
it makes the case for why romance is so critically important,
Mm-hmm.
while simultaneously tricking you into experiencing two different
Exactly.
romance storylines. So it works on multi levels. It works if you
100%.
are a diehard romance reader and a romance skeptic, in my opinion.
No,
What am
you're
I
so
currently
right.
reading? I'm like, so now that I've said that, what am I currently reading? So I am right now rereading Quicksilver by Callie Hart, which was a huge romantasy novel of last year. I believe it was originally self-published, big book talk sensation, and then it was purchased and then reprinted by a traditional publisher. And I'm reading the reprint right now because the sequel, Brimstone, came out last week, and I was so excited, and I went in so hot and realized immediately that I forgot all 600 pages of this book, which
No.
fantasy readers will feel my pain. That first 100 pages where they might as well be speaking Latin. You have no idea what anyone is talking about. I felt that to my core. So I'm in the middle of my reread. I'm having so much fun. And it's been a while since I read like an epic fantasy. So it's been nice to, I don't know, go back to my roots.
Love that.
In touch with my inner child. Right in time for, I'm in the States, so right in time for Thanksgiving, one of our
Yes.
national holidays. But yeah, I'm having so much fun with it, and it's the perfect thing to subsequent my last week reads, which I had a huge reread week last week. I reread 5 of like my favorite rom-coms of the last few years. I reread two Ali Hazelwood's, Check and Mate and Love Theoretically, which
Mhm.
are, I think, my two favorites. I reread You Again by Kate Goldbeck, which is a When Harry Met Sally retelling, but it's a lot like snarkier and very bisexual, which we love.
I did not know this, and I'm such a fan of When Harry Met Sally, so I
Oh,
feel like I
you've got
need
to
to
check
get that
out
book.
there are two books I always recommend for fans of When Harry Met Sally. One is You Again, which is just like it's chef's kiss in terms of if you love like a morally gray, like slightly unlikable, not only actually female main character, but also male main character.
Love.
And two people that you just have such good chemistry and you genuinely don't know how they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
You've got to check this out. And then Exit Lane, which came out 2 months ago. It's a novella published with 831 Stories. That's also a When Harry Met Sally retelling. It's
Love.
only like 150 pages. That one is tonally a little bit different. Like we're talking golden retriever, MMC, devastating subplot that like I Kate totally blindsided me. So definitely check that out.
I will.
And then I said I reread five. Oh, Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. So good. The first book that made me realize I actually don't hate accidental pregnancy trope. This is the first book, honestly, to make me think that if I were to accidentally get pregnant tomorrow, maybe it would all be okay. Um, Gorgeous New York novel, really funny. And then I reread Heated Rivalry because it's a MM hockey romance. And one
Oh,
of the OGs, I know that hockey romance has become the most popular sports romance subgenre, but I love this book and I'm so excited that its adaptation is dropping this week.
oh my
In
gosh.
in the States, it's going to be on HBO. I know in Canada it's going to be on Crave. I'm not sure the UK,
Mm.
but I think that this show is going to be huge.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
I think the edits are going to sweep. I think it's going to be all anyone's talking about. So anyway, big reread week for me. As you can see, I read a
I
lot.
love this. The more book recommendations, the better.
Okay,
And I
I'm
love
glad.
that you've brought up an adaptation because I'm about to start a mini series on the pod that is dedicated to book to screen adaptations. So I'm inviting guests on to read and watch with me, and
You
not
gotta
at the
have
same
me
time, but
back.
yes, please come back and do that with me. I would love
Yes,
that.
please.
That would be amazing. I mean, you listed a couple of authors there that I've not got to yet. I know it is almost blasphemous now to say that I haven't read an Ali Hazelwood yet,
Oh,
which is,
really?
yeah, I haven't. I've
It's
got
not
Deep End
blasphemous,
on
but
my
it's impressive because she publishes
She's
like 5 books a
everywhere.
year. Yes.
But
Like, good job of it's like whack-a-mole. How did you not get
I
hit?
know, it's so bad. I have got Deep End. I haven't got any of the others, so I feel like I need to try that out first because it's the one that's been sat on my TBR. My
Ethan
cousin
is
was
really
like,
good.
"How have you not read this yet? Like, how have you not read it? Please take this off me." So I've took that off my cousin. But then once I've read that, I'll try the ones that you said.
Okay, so Deep End, I feel like you should know. Deep End is probably Allie's kinkiest.
Love.
Uh, But I will say that, like, if you read a lot of erotic romance,
Hmm.
it's not that kinky. Like,
Oh, okay.
think that there are two groups of people that were used to Ali's previous work that
Yeah.
was shocked by the spice in it. And then people that are used to reading like QB Tyler erotica who were, unimpressed by
Yes.
spicy it was. Me, I thought it was perfect. And so funny enough, I read Deep End on a flight to London,
Oh
start
my
to finish,
gosh.
and going to surprise my best friend from university for her 30th birthday. And first of all, what a book to read on a plane. I was like, going to the bathroom every 5 minutes. And second, I literally downloaded Wi-Fi and texted my husband being like, I really think you should read this book. It does such a good job of demonstrating how like communication can be used to discuss like boundaries during like exploration of BDSM and subdom relationships. And he was like, "Hi, are you in the air?" But I really truly like that's how excited I got reading it. So definitely check it out. Let me
I
know what you
will.
think.
I will. You're just
But
gonna
if
get
you're
a message late one night.
Yeah, if you're ever just in the mood to dedicate like 3 to 5 hours of your life in one go to something, make it a deep end read.
Yeah.
I read it in February. Do it when it's getting dark at 2 p.m., you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
and you need
ready.
some light.
It's the
Exactly.
perfect time of year. I can get my little
Yeah,
glass of red wine. I can get the
exactly. I love that we're on
perfect.
question number one, by the way. Like, I'm
I
obsessed with,
know, I
we don't
know.
need questions.
I'm not even started. I
I
am
know.
so excited for all these book recommendations from you. And I am just thinking now about the show notes afterwards are just going to be like, I have had it before.
That's so
I have had it before where somebody's given that many recommendations that it cut them off on
Oh
Apple
no.
Podcasts, and I feel like that's going to happen with you.
Uh-oh. I mean, it's my fault. It's honestly my fault. I read like too much and I get too excited. My biggest problem is that I am better at selling other people's books than my own. Like on my own tour, I would sell copies of Mate. I was reading Kiss of the Basilisk, which if you're not a romance reader, you're not ready to hear about Kiss of the Basilisk. And people were listening to me like shout about this, and they would
Grabbing.
stop and wait. And it was honestly like I felt like I was preaching to a captive audience. I get too excited, but here, I'm going to do this for you. Connected to female fantasy, I am such a fangirl that like
Yeah.
I can't help it. Like when I love something so
Mhm.
enthusiastically that I can't hold myself back,
I
is the
love
truth.
that. This enthusiasm is absolutely everything. And I do feel like this novel is very much a love letter to the romance community, both readers and writers alike. It definitely feels like that. But I mean, I was going to ask you what got you into romance, and I feel like this is just going to set you off on a whole.
I know now it's dangerous. You're like, uh-oh. Uh-oh. No, I'll make it quick for you. Honestly, I think it take it back to the Scholastic Fair, honestly. When I was probably 8 or 9, I started reading the Princess Diaries book series, which a lot of people are unfamiliar with the books because they've seen the movie. But I'll have you know that Meg Cabot, the author of the Princess Diaries, is my queen, and I've read everything by her. And if you pick up a Meg Cabot book, you're going to say, oh my God, that's where Iman got her voice from, because it was one of the first real, pieces of literature that I connected with on a fundamental level. And I really felt raised by the characters in her books. But I picked up the second Princess Diaries book because I had already seen the movie. I thought I didn't need to read the first. I was wrong. I went back and read the first and just fell so deeply in love with Michael and Mia, who, if you have read the books, Michael makes it to the second book. In fact, he makes it to all of the books. There is no prince from a faraway land in Genovia in the books. And it is like really a true epic YA romance, and just made me giggle and want to hide under my covers and clap my hands and curl my toes and all the good stuff. But more than that, more than I was connected to the love story, I felt like the strong female character healed something inside of me. Like at that point in my life, I was feeling very, very lost. I grew up first gen Middle Eastern American in New York. I always felt like my identity was a little bit fragmented
Mhm.
between the two different worlds that I came from. And I really used the character of Mia Thermopolis as a roadmap for what it was like to be an American teenager. I ate up every single pop culture reference and then would go and research it and watch it. And I felt like the slang and the colloquialisms she used, I tried to adopt in my own language.
Mhm.
And it was like I had a big sister telling me everything from how to insert a tampon to who to vote for.
Mhm.
And the love displayed in that series, not just romantic love, but also self-love and
Mhm.
familial love and platonic love. It really gave me hope that
Yeah.
things were going to get better.
Hmm.
Of course, so many of the adults in my life condescended towards me and told me that I should be reading books that are considered more serious and prestigious.
Yeah.
And thus came my indignation and my stubborn nature kicked in. And I doubled down so
Hmm.
hard and said, I don't, in fact, I want to read commercial fiction for the rest of my life. I'm never going to be guilty about the guilty
No.
pleasure reading that you tell me I shouldn't do. And so it's all deeply connected,
Yeah.
truly.
Your
And I
author's
know I
note was
said I'd make this
incredible.
short.
No, no, no. I love hearing about all of that, and I think it's so important. And I really really loved your author's note. I thought it was just so amazing and so beautifully articulated, and it really irritates me that somebody had the audacity to like it was a teacher that kind of put you down and said no, you can't, you shouldn't write about that, or it's silly or frivolous or whatever, whatever words they kind of use. It's just very dismissive, and I don't like that. I think any kind of reading and love of books is a really positive thing that should absolutely be encouraged. And I loved at one point in the novel, I think you describe it as romance being like women literally oh my gosh, how do you word it now? It's going to really irritate me. Like holding,
Oh,
like
giving other women a literal helping
helping
hand.
hand, that's it, that's the bit. Yes, I thought that was such a beautiful way to show like how much we can learn from romance books. And
Yeah.
it is exactly that. It is a whole community in and of itself, and it's actually really empowered women, whether that be sexually or in romantic relationships. And I think that's a really incredible thing. I'm
Thank
getting
you.
on my stage
No,
now.
my big red flag as a person is that I think all systemic issues, at least in the United States, can be traced back to our puritanical roots and how messed up our sex education system is.
Yes.
I think that from the time we were young, women and marginalized people are systemically disenfranchised by withholding knowledge about
Hmm.
their bodies
Yeah.
and their feelings and their urges and their wants and their needs, while cis straight men are empowered to
Yeah.
take to pleasure themselves, to
Hmm.
seek out more power through sex. And it both like baffles me, but at the same, and I was going to say it both baffles and saddens me, but through writing this and through researching for this, and of course I have my background in sex and
Yeah.
relationships also informing a lot of this writing, I realized that it's actually not so surprising because ultimately it's a method for keeping us confined to a
Hmm.
patriarchal framework. Because if we're all ashamed and scared to talk to each other, to form community, to coalesce, to come together and to fight the system that like benefits from keeping us quiet and oppressing us, then nothing ever changes.
Yeah.
So even the teacher that spoke down to me from a young age, like she is a part of this system. Like she is also being oppressed by this system
Yeah.
in the same way that women that slut shame each other are pointing the finger because they think that if they divert attention away from themselves and
Yeah.
show other women as, sexually promiscuous, that no one's going to notice that they are Googling things at 2 in the morning that they shouldn't be. And that's because like women are taught that like curiosity is a
Hmm.
slippery slope.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, we're curious. No one is giving us access to any information. And the only way that we can empower ourselves is by arming ourselves with our own research.
Hmm.
And what is the oldest way that women were able to conduct this research? And I'm not talking decades, I'm talking centuries. It's always been the written word.
Yeah.
Yes, print magazines and romance novels, but I'm talking about bodice rippers, Harlequin novels, the books that are at the bottom of the grocery store that
Hmm.
people like to stick their noses up at. But not just that, letter writing,
Hmm.
diaries, women's accounts of their own sexual curiosity and adventures, sex written from the female perspective for other women,
Hmm.
the female gaze. And this is always how women have sort of started to feel like they're allowed to not take what they want, but to look inside themselves
Hmm.
and then act on what they already need. And it really it really touched me when I realized that the only thing that this is like an ages old practice, and the only thing that's really changed in the last 5 to 10 years that has started to flip the script is that because of online spaces, we have finally started to fight back
Yeah.
by being loud and proud about the source material,
Yeah.
about books that we found that have helped heal us,
Mhm.
books that have found that have helped us explore like kink and pleasure, and books that we have found that have helped us understand our boundaries
Mhm.
and also set standards for what we should expect out of relationships. And the ripple effect has been unbelievable
Mhm.
through the outward expression of these resources, the chipping away at propaganda. We've formed book clubs, we've formed romance only bookstores, we have formed, romance podcasts.
Mhm.
Like, it's for the first time ever, we are taking back our power
Mhm.
through numbers. And, try as they might, people can't hack this one. Like,
No.
it's very, very difficult to game the system. It's
Yeah.
just true. Publishing is trying their best, but ultimately, romance is a billion-dollar industry that has like
Mhm.
existed for a very long time, and we won't be told like what we should read and like
No.
what we do connect with. And I find that to be so unbelievably cool. And yeah, I think it's funny. Working in publishing, I really thought that I would finally be like joining a group of like-minded people
Mhm.
who were dedicated to fighting these power imbalances, but the same prejudices exist
Yeah.
inside of the industry. So I think that female fantasy, in a lot of ways, was expressed as, a defiant.
Mhm.
It's a celebration and a love letter, yes, but it's also a middle finger. It's a show of defiance to these critics, to the people that still are so quick to dismiss romance readers as lesser than or as delusional or as perverted, because it really does make me sad that an entire genre of literature can be looked at as escapist
Mm.
when the very act of picking up a book is inherently political. Like, and
Yeah.
there's no way around it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I mean, you've articulated that better than I ever could. And I think you're so right in everything you've just said. And I think your protagonist, Junie, is that how I say your name? Junie?
Yes, Uni,
Yes,
my girl.
she's amazing, and she is absolutely a spokesperson for why we should be reading romance books. You know, she's telling the men in her life that these books are important and they should be recognized as such. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I thank you so much. I love Junie. She's my lover girl. She's my fangirl. And my favorite thing about Junie, honestly, is that she says what all of us wishes we could say.
Hmm.
I think even if you're not a big romance reader, how many people have experienced their yum being yucked? How
Yeah.
many women, especially, have been teased or made fun of for liking something that connected with them? And any phenomena that is popularized by women is often dismissed as being basic or
Hmm.
cringe, which is so frustrating. And
Yeah.
obviously, it's a part of the same patriarchal framework. And how many times have you been subtly condescended to or teased or flat out made fun of for liking something, and you take it because you just don't know what to say, and then 2 hours later you're just sitting at home and all of a sudden that would have been the perfect comeback. I wish I could go back and say
It's
that to
usually
their
me in the
face.
shower.
Exactly. The shower thought hits you and you're like, fuck, no.
That's what I'm like.
And that's what I love about Junie, is that she does that in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, in throughout this book, people challenge her, people try to make her feel bad about herself, and she stares them down
Hmm.
and fights back. And oftentimes they walk away stuttering, staggering, they apologize because they're shocked, because they don't expect her to stand her ground. And that's what I mean by she's an unapologetic fangirl. And she refuses to let anyone make her feel small for, believing in love, for getting comfort from happily ever afters, because she's experienced that in the past and she
Hmm.
survived it and she came out stronger on the other side.
Yeah.
And because of that, she's decided that no one is going to dull her shine or, sink her optimism. And I appreciate that so much. That's my girl
She's
right there.
amazing. And
She's
there's a
amazing.
line that I noted down where she says the implication that I can't distinguish fact from fiction is both misogynistic and idiotic. And I was just like, yes. There were so many lines of her thoughts that I was noting down like I wish I, was brave enough to just say this to somebody.
It grinds my gears so much that men especially
Yeah.
think that because women are read so much romance,
Hmm.
they now have these deluded, unrealistic
Yeah.
expectations for what life looks like. Just because all of a sudden they are untapping these sources inside of themselves about what it would look like to, be loved, to be respected, to be appreciated,
Hmm.
that they truly expect for a 6'5" shadow daddy to like knock on their door on a Sunday. I'm sorry. You just because you worship Dune doesn't mean that we think that you expect sandworms to be discovered in the desert. Oh my God, the double standard drives
Honestly,
me crazy.
not the sandworms.
We all know that guy. Hello. It's again, but once you step back and take in the
Mhm.
full picture, you realize that all of these smaller conversations, these snide remarks, they
Mm,
all contribute to a larger agenda. And most of the time, people don't even realize that they are a cog in like a much larger machine.
yeah.
So shout out Junie for doing the work
Shout
because
out Junie.
the only way to fight back, if it's small comments that create this death by a thousand cuts effect, then it will be small retributions that
Yes.
that fight on our behalf. So
Yeah, absolutely. And she has had a really difficult past, to get to the point where she's able to step into her power, to speak up for herself, to know the standards that she holds other people to, and to want better for herself. Could you tell us a little bit about her past? And actually, I know I'm reading out lots of your own quotes back to you, but this quote was really important to me. Um, and she says, it's funny, I now recognize, she's talking about a past relationship. She says, it's funny, I now recognize his behavior as emotional abuse, but I couldn't tell how bad it truly was until I had some distance from the relationship. I had never wanted to call it the A word, to admit how I'd allowed him to treat me. And that just really resonated with me. And I'm not going to get into it, but I had similar experiences, and that whole, not maybe recognizing something as it is while you're in it, not maybe wanting to put that label on it, feeling like, oh, well, I've not seen this representation of abuse before, so how can that possibly be what I've experienced? I think it's another thing that there's a person out there that might read that and understand that behavior to be what it is. And that will help them. So yeah, I'd love it if you could tell me a bit about Junie's background and how she's got to kind of where she is when we meet her.
well, first of all, sending love. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It has happened to so many more women than
Hmm.
we realize, so many more people than we realize. Because oftentimes abuse doesn't look like what we've been made to think that it looks like
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
popular media.
Hmm.
So we retroactively realize that it's abuse years out, or sometimes even before it's too late. And again, I had spoken to and worked with a lot of writers and interviewed a lot of women in similar kind of domestic abusive relationships in my sex and relationship days, and became very clear to me that there's you know this idea that abuse starts out with a bang, but it's actually much more of a quiet detente.
Yeah.
So um, I really wanted to demonstrate that here. Um, Junie is someone who grew up as a person of color
Hmm.
in a very small, very homogenous town. She, as a result of that, deals with a lot of microaggressive, xenophobic remarks,
Yeah.
and also just some flat out racism
Mm-hmm.
and bigotry when she's young. For the most part, because of her optimism, because she has this unflailing faith in happily ever afters and love, she is able to like hold on to a part of herself, but she also starts to use love a bit as a crutch. This idea that it doesn't matter how many people hurt me because there's going to be someone out there who will love and accept me.
Mm-hmm.
But then something traumatic happens to her towards the end of her high school days. And when she goes off to college, she has this idea that maybe in order to be loved the way I've always dreamt of being loved, I need to conform. I need to assimilate. I need to dull my shine. I need to darken the color in my world. And I need to sort of make myself smaller. And something very sad happens when she does this. She's immediately rewarded for it by someone who claims to love her, but is taking advantage
Mm-hmm.
of her, both her trusting nature, but the fact that she is using love as this sort of belief system, as this source of faith, as a crutch. He immediately sees this in her and he gives her everything that she thinks she wants at first, and then slowly, little by little, starts to take it away.
Yeah.
Um, and because she spent her entire, childhood holding on to this hope that all of the hardship she's experienced will be worth it when she finally finds this like epic true love,
Mm-hmm.
it takes her a really long time to realize what's happening to her. And, I've previously said that like um, it takes her, years before she feels brave enough to leave. That's not the truth because, you know, a lot of people can't leave when they want to is the is the truth of it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people's rock bottom isn't necessarily the end because they're not in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
But when Junie does finally get out of this relationship, she's feeling really lost. She's in a dark place. And I think part of that is because, we all have different like belief systems that
Mm-hmm.
we live our life according to. And with hers stolen away, she doesn't have a North Star anymore. And it is at this moment that she stumbles into a bookstore and finds this book series that resonates so deeply with her. And not only does the love story and the relationship make her realize that true love looks like more than a hot body and flirty comments, it looks like true agency and
Mm-hmm.
respect. But there's something about the main character's journey that she realizes that another big part of true love is first loving yourself and finding that inner strength
Mm-hmm.
and being willing to fight for yourself. So it's, yes, she falls deeply in love with this fictional character, but she also sees herself in the heroine's journey. And little by little, this book series pulls her out of
Mm-hmm.
her depressive state and she starts to get back in touch with the parts of her that she made small in order to appease this man. And she starts to find community and talk to other people
Mm-hmm.
who have had similar experiences. And she starts to write again and amass, it's exactly what I was talking about before, real power in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, she not only like finds herself again, but she has faith again.
Yeah.
And although you'll see it, in some ways, she hides behind this newfound source of inspiration for happily ever afters and uses it as a tool to keep herself from getting too close to anyone again
Yeah.
because of how deeply she's been hurt. She also realizes something very important, which is that she's never, ever going to let anyone make her feel like she should shrink herself to allow them to feel big ever again. And that's where her absolute, which like her absolute reverence for
Hmm.
romance, her absolute indignation when it comes to the defense of the genre, and her unapologetic love of fandom
Hmm.
comes from. That's why she's making these, that's why she's doubling down. That's why she's fighting back against critics. It's because she's already experienced the worst of it and she's
Yeah.
come out stronger on the other side. And I know that I can really relate to parts of her journey. I've spoken to a lot of readers who can relate to parts of her journey. And my hope is that if someone is maybe in the earlier phases of her journey and they read and connect with her character, that they will know that it's okay to reach out for help and it's
Hmm.
okay to form that community. So that's that was my intention with her backstory. I am grateful that you connected with it. So
No, I absolutely did. I think it was, really wonderfully represented, and I think, you wrote about it so well. And I know you said that you had sensitivity readers. I think that's what you call it, and you can really tell that you took the time and the care with that storyline, which always means a lot as a reader. And I want to ask you, the she stumbles into this bookshop, as you said, and she meets this bookseller called, is it Rona?
Rona.
Rona, and Rona is the one that gives her this gift of this book that's going to change her life. And I was really curious if you had a Rona that has given you a book that's changed your life, or that has, really meant a lot to you.
I had a wonderful high school librarian who I really loved. Shout out Miss Crow, who really helped. I think she saw that I loved reading, regardless of whether it was academic or literary, and encouraged me to keep going, which I really appreciated. And I also had other teachers,
Mhm.
other than the one that I slander in this book, Mrs.
It
Mass,
was
who,
deserved.
yeah, really agree. Sorry, no, in the acknowledgments, I say, let's call it even, who really encouraged me to keep writing,
Mhm.
and keep reading. One specific teacher named Mrs. Lem really comes to mind. I've had many incredible relationships with independent booksellers who are my favorite. Independent booksellers and librarians, oh, best people you'll ever meet in the world. But I never had, when I was young, I feel like a almost like a fairy godmother bookseller, similar to Rona. But I will say that I'll give you a little tea right here. Rona is named for I was a songwriter when I was younger.
No
And
way.
I had a vocal teacher named Rona who
Oh my God.
was, in a lot of ways, like an adult that I trusted when I was young and vulnerable, who helped me feel seen and heard. So, although I haven't seen or spoken to her in a very long time, I named Rona for her.
I
And then
love that.
thank you. So the fun thing about writing books is that you get to make little inside jokes with yourself and leave yourself little Easter eggs everywhere that no one gets but you. And I do that to keep myself thoroughly entertained. And
Oh.
so that's where Rona came from. And then Enswale Books is a fictionalized version of a real life independent bookstore, one of my favorites in Mystic, which is called Bank Square Books. And Bank Square Books, its insignia is a whale. There's like a big whale tail
Oh my
outside
gosh.
of the store. And I love this book, love this store. And I do have friendships with a lot of the booksellers that work there. Shout out Isabel. And Isabella, like I mean, she was gonna come back to Mystic to interview me for when I was on tour for Female
Oh my
Fantasy.
God.
She's been such a wonderful support to me. So honestly, like the mishmash of Bank Square and Rona created this big ultimate moment. But I also thought of it as, again, this is a book that like very reverently parodies fantasy.
Yes.
How many people can recognize the trope of like the oracle having a prophecy and bestowing it upon our mighty warrior before
Yeah.
they go off on their quest? Like, I wanted to create a moment where almost in a mystical way, this woman came out of the stacks and the light shone and the angel chorus sang, oh, and she said, this is for you. Go forth. And in that way, there's a little bit of a wink and a nod, a little bit of a satirical comedic moment as well. So
I mean, I loved the satire of this and how you parody kind of feels like a negative term. I don't know why it feels like that way for me, but it's not.
I
You
let's say homage. I love the word.
homage to romantic, perfect, great word. That is what you do in this book. So the book is sort of, I don't want to say two halves, but it kind of alternates in sections, doesn't it? Between the book that has meant the most to Junie, her favorite book, which is A Tale of Saltwater and Secrets. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. How about that?
How how did your editors, your agent, your publisher feel when you came to them and said, "Listen, I'm doing two books in one"?
Honestly, I don't think they realized how extensively I was going to write A Tale of Saltwater and Secrets.
You were not messing
I
about.
Yeah, I always kind of knew what I was gonna do, if I'm being honest with you. But I do think, like now that I look back on my proposal, I do think I made it sound like the excerpts were gonna be a lot shorter. Um, whereas in reality, this really is two halves of one
Yeah.
whole. This is sort of like it's 50% this campy mere romantasy. It's 50% this like contemporary, I like to call it a romp-com, but it's 100% these two stories slowly weave in and out of one another, then come together and build and build and build, then literally climax at the same time. Um,
They do.
oh, they do. And and I think that, and they really inform one another. So I do think that they are two halves of this one wholehearted love letter to romance, to genre, and to fandom. So yeah, I don't know if tricked is the right word, but I definitely feel like I underplayed the extent to which I was going to literally write the mer romantasy.
I mean, I don't know how you made that work. It worked so well, and I felt like you gave us, because I was thinking like, oh, are we not gonna get enough of each part of the story? And actually, it was perfect the amount that you gave us. The only thing that I wish I got an insight to was the tail play mention.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that. Um, all I'm gonna say is if you want to write a little Tailpay fan fiction and put it on AO3, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. So yeah, I mean, pretty hilarious. But yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I am a reverent lover of, I've used the word reverent way too much in this
No.
interview, but it really is the perfect word. I'll say like I am a passionate lover
Mhm.
of mermaids and mermaid and siren lore, and I've been trying so hard to get mermaids back into the popular pop cultural zeitgeist
Yeah.
because we had a really gorgeous golden era of mermaids and like when we had H2O and Aquamarine on the
Yes.
mainstream. And then they kind of disappeared. They trickled out of the conversation in lieu of Twilight Mania and
Hmm.
Werewolves Diaries. And it's like, where are the mermaids? Like, please. Because what I love about mermaids specifically is you get the juxtaposition of like
Hmm.
whimsy and then like dark seductive energy. Because the mermaids are all light and air and water. And then you've got the dark, sinister vibes of the sirens, like sexy, dark, like the deep, deep sea. So like, where did they go? We need them back.
Yes.
And then I realized when writing this, Hannah, that it's because it is so hard to figure out how mermaids fuck. And that's why, and that's why that we're not having this breakthrough. They
Fair.
have to shift. Otherwise, it's just not sexy. Like it doesn't work. It's so annoying, but we don't have those issues with mermaid with the werewolves and vampires. Their anatomy is safe. It's
It
marked
works.
safe.
You made it
So
work, though. You made it
yeah.
work.
But honestly, if okay, maybe if enough people buy this book, my publisher will let me do like a bonus scene with
Amazing.
no play. I would love to do that. It would
I'm
be very
ready. I'm ready. Now you just mentioned AO3, and Junie is a copywriter by day, fan fiction writer by night, and this community, as you've said, is hugely important to her. Was this sort of nod to the fan fiction community? Is that something that you've been involved with yourself, or was this just kind of a nod to the bookish community as a whole?
No, I'm a huge fanfic
I
girl.
love
Like huge
this.
fanfic girl. Yeah, no, definitely from experience. And it's been nice hearing that it was fun for other fanfic community members to feel like there was a book that both like got it, like
Hmm.
was in on the joke, that laughed with them instead of laughing at them, which was 100% my intention, but also really celebrated the parts of fanfic that are so special, which is
Hmm.
that fan fiction is a community that was, championed mainly by marginalized people, especially members of the queer community. And the purpose of fan fiction is to put people back into the narrative that don't formally see themselves in popular storytelling.
Hmm.
In AU writing, anything can happen. Two characters of the same gender can fall in love that would never fall in love on the page. And so I really adored having the opportunity to talk about why and how that's so special, and like the band of misfits that find each other in the Atasas hive, are salty girls. And yeah, I mean, I felt the same way in high school and middle school, honestly. Like I was up on AO3 and fanfiction.net, and still to this day I love to supplement my traditional, my very very serious TBR with long epic works of fanfic and short one shots, like
I
sue
love.
me.
Are you allowed to say, like, do you want to say what kind of fan fiction
Oh
you like
yeah,
reading?
I've
Yeah.
I've talked a lot about this. I
Okay.
got my start in fan fiction. Actually, it all comes back to Mike Cabot, in the Buffy the Vampire Slayer fandom. I was a
Love.
huge Buffy fan, and I discovered Buffy through Mike Cabot because Princess Mia is a huge Buffy fan.
Yes.
And I was a member of the Buffy community, which is Spike and Buffy. Very problematic community, but also one of the OG blueprints for like real enemies to lovers. And
Yes.
very much informed my taste in romantasy moving forward. But I love being a part of that community, and it was definitely like my gateway into reading other fics. And now to this day, like if I read a series and love it, I immediately, the first thing I'm doing is checking to see if there's been fan fiction written about it.
Obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed. I will just take a couple more minutes because I have to ask about Nico. I feel like it would be remiss of me to not mention him. He is Junie's brother's best friend. There's a road trip that they embark on, where all manners of chaos ensue.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Well, I am a child of chaos. Like, I am no one if not. I love writing chaotic fiction. And if you've read my previous work, I always kind of chaos dump in my writing. I love a book where everything goes wrong. I find it incredibly entertaining
Yes.
and funny. And I don't like to take myself too seriously when I'm writing fiction. I think that there's a time and place for that, but I am on a personal mission to make fiction as fun as possible. But the idea for the road trip specifically, where everything goes wrong, is I wanted the events of the contemporary story in as campy a way as possible to mimic the events of our romantasy
Yes.
story. I wanted to give our beautiful heroine Judy and her what noble steed Nico a worthy opponent and a battle. A
Hmm.
battle of wills and also a physical battle to fight. And I feel like any great hero's journey involves trials and tribulations and tests. And it is only when you have triumphed over all of these complications and adversaries that you can then feel like the conquest has been earned. You get to the end of the road, you reach your pot of gold,
Yeah.
and it feels like a worthy win. You slay the dragon, and then finally you get the princess. All of the hilarious tropes that exist in fairy tales and lore and fantasy. So I wanted to create a similar chaotic, campy, hilarious journey for Junie and Nico to go on, but I had only two goals for this trip. One goal, cram as many recognizable romance tropes and romance subgenres into this road trip,
Love.
which was the most fun thing ever. And then two, whenever Junie had to fight her way out of the situation or, you know, get closer to her destination, she had to use skills that she had specifically learned, from reading A Tale of Saltwater and Secrets to do it. And my hope was, because you're reading the excerpts of A Tale of Saltwater and Secrets along with Nico, you will recognize that decisions and actions and conversations that happen in the fantasy book then
Influence.
impact and inform
Yes.
and influence the actions, conversations, decisions made by Junie in the contemporary. So we, the reader, understand what's happening, and
Yeah.
we're so much so in on her thought process, which I thought was really cool. And also, what an incredible way to underline the point that she makes to Nico right before everything starts going wrong, which is that romantasy books are so much more than happily ever after. Yes, they're happily ever after, but you can learn so much from reading romance. I tell people all the time, I'm a romance reader. Tell me why, like, I speak a little Russian could explain the difference to you between theoretical and experimental physics. I know the rules of hockey. I could tell you how, like, the rodeo system works, like, all stuff that I've learned from reading romance. So
It's
I wanted
important.
to, yeah, exactly. I wanted to both like celebrate and acknowledge that.
I love that. And yeah, like you said, she gets Nico reading romance, which is the goal. I would love to find out what is next for you before I finish off with a recommendation.
I really appreciate also this conversation was super fun.
I've loved
So
this so much.
thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for loving on female fantasy. I poured so much joy into these pages. So
And you
it's
really feel that. You really feel that as the reader. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it was healing for me to write. So it's nice to hear that people are able to experience that alongside me. What's next? I am currently wrapping up edits for my fourth novel, which, knock on wood, will be coming out next year, around the same time. And
Amazing.
it is so much fun. I've been telling people that all of my books are getting more and more and more romantic. And I think that the next one, in some ways, is even a truer romance than female fantasy. It is, as are all of my books, a total chaotic roller coaster ride. Very funny and full of heart, and will have a strain of social commentary running through it. And I don't know how much I can say, but I feel like I can tell you one thing about it. It is a time loop novel. So
Ooh.
if you're a fan of Groundhog Day and Palm Springs, you are going to love this unbelievably campy, chaotic, like roller coaster ride of a time loop novel.
Oh, I can't
And
wait for that.
two unlikely people that find themselves in it. So I'm very excited about it. And also, I will say that if you are missing some of the characters in female fantasy, and even further back, some of the characters in my last two books, you will definitely notice some familiar names, and in some cases, faces that pop up.
Oh my
So
gosh.
definitely check it out. And I can't wait to be able to share more about it. I finally got to that place in edits where everything is starting to click and sing and make sense. And I'm getting really excited about it. it's a special one for sure.
Oh, that's so exciting. I actually can't wait to read that. And we will have to find a way to get you back to chat about that one when it comes out. Lastly, Iman, before I let you go, and thank you so much for this, I do like to finish by asking for a recommendation. So is there anything that you haven't already recommended that you would like to recommend for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like I recommended so many
Yes.
books already, but I will say, is this going to come out before the holidays?
Yes.
Okay, it's holiday season,
Hmm.
so gotta shout out Good Spirits by BK Borson, I think is
I
the
really want to
holiday
read
piece
this.
of the season. And if there's still foliage where you are and you are looking for a late autumnal read, I will shout out Joss Richards. I think it's called It's Different This Time. It's a debut novel, really special second chance romance set in New York in the fall. And if it makes you happy, Julie, I think Olivia is her name. And this is sort of like a 90s Gilmore Girls vibe fall rom-com. So those two gotta give cred where credit is due for watching. I'm really excited for Heated Rivalry, which drops next week.
Yes.
I've been watching Maxton Hall, which I've really been loving as well. Very soapy German. The world will divide us forever. Rivals to Lovers show. And I'm really excited for the Love Hypothesis adaptation next year and the Every Summer After adaptation next year. So I feel
Well,
like that's
maybe I
right.
can steal you back for one of
Okay.
those so you
Oh,
can.
and albums of the year, Lily Allen's West End Girl and
So good.
Audrey Hobart's Who's the Clown are the two that I've been listening to the most. So
Amazing. I'm obsessed with that. I love Lillian's new album. I can't stop listening. I am obsessed with Pussy Palace and Madeline, and I just can't get enough of it. Have you got a favorite track?
I literally just had my husband listen to the whole album in order because I needed to freak out with someone about this. And I think that Pussy Palace is the standout,
Yeah,
but I think my favorites right now are Dallas Major and Tennis. I think are my two favorites right now.
amazing.
Yeah.
Great,
But
great.
it's the whole thing is so good. You got to listen to it in order.
Yeah,
It tells us such a comprehensive story.
yeah.
So good.
I'm just imagining you telling your boyfriend, right, you need to listen to this properly
Oh,
now, understand it's going on pause.
oh. I explained the whole thing. I actually I dictated the whole thing. I was like, yeah, and here he says that he might need to get a vasectomy, so it's safe to assume that he might have accidentally gotten a girl pregnant, which was not in the terms of their agreement. And blah, and he was like, well, did you study this? Did you read it?
Yes.
Like, how do you know so much about that? I'm like, I have no life. I have no life.
It's really important.
Yeah, I'm like, what else would I be doing with my time? Of course,
Exactly.
hello.
Iman, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I've absolutely loved this chat, and I absolutely loved female fantasy. For our listeners, links to grab yourselves a copy are in the show notes. Please go and buy yourselves one, and I will also be popping links to all the many books Iman's recommended today and her previous novels as well. Thank you so much.
You. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope you have a very happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And I'll be popping links to follow Iman in the show notes. And you can also follow us at A Pair of Bookends Pod on Instagram and at A Pair of Bookends on Twitter and TikTok. That's all we've got time for. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you again, Iman, and goodbye.
Hey, that was so much fun.